الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
A short while back, I mentioned in one of the Friday sermons that this year is the year of elections for the Jamaat office holders. In many places, the
अब अक्सर
elections have
जगहों पर
already taken place,
इंतखाब हो चुके हैं
both at national and local level, and the new office holders
मुल्कों
have
में भी
taken charge of their respective duties.
और मुकामी जमातों में भी और नए अहदेदारों ने अपना काम संभाल लिया है अहदेदारों में
In some places,
बाज़ जगहों पर
new national presidents, local
उमरा,
presidents, and other office holders have been elected.
और दूसरे अहदेदार
However, in many places, those who were working from before have been re-elected.
लेकिन बहुत सी जगहों पर पहले से काम करने वालों को ही दोबारा इंतखाब किया गया है नए आने वालों को भी
Those who have been newly elected should be thankful to God Almighty, for He has selected them to serve the Jamaat.
कि उन्हें अल्लाह ताला ने जमात की खिदमत के लिए चुना
And also, they should seek help from God Almighty while turning to Him with complete humility
अल्लाह ताला के हुजूर झुकते
in
हुए
order to effectively fulfill the responsibility they have been charged with.
मदद मांगनी चाहिए कि अल्लाह ताला उन्हें इस इमानत का हक अदा करने की तौफीक दे जो उनके सुपुर्द की गई है इसी तरह जो अहदेदार
Similarly, those office holders who have been re-elected, they should also be thankful to God Almighty for again being given the opportunity by God Almighty to serve the Jamaat.
कि अल्लाह ताला ने उन्हें दोबारा खिदमत की तौफीक दी वहाँ अल्लाह ताला से ये आइज़ाना दुआ भी मांगे कि अल्लाह ताला उन्हें तमाम तर सलाहियतों के साथ इन इमानतों का हक अदा करने की तौफीक अता फरमाए
Also, they should pray with humility that in the previous years, if there was any lapse, indolence, and oversight shown from them, and as a result they were not able to fulfill the dues of their responsibility properly, then may God Almighty overlook those. And they should also pray that may He bestow His grace upon them and enable them to duly fulfill the responsibilities placed upon them for the next 3 years, and not show the same lapse, indolence, and oversight while discharging these responsibilities.
और जो इमानतें उनके सुपुर्द की हैं इनमें आइंदा सुस्तियाँ और कोताहियाँ और गफलतें न हों
And may Allah the Almighty enable them to fulfill the responsibilities.
अदा करने की अल्लाह ताला तौफीक अता फरमाए याद रखना
It should always be kept in mind that one should not consider serving the Jamaat as an ordinary service, and nor should it be taken lightly.
सरसरी तौर पर नहीं लेना चाहिए हम में से हर एक ने
Each and every one of us, whether it is an office holder or a normal Ahmadi, each one has made a pledge to give precedence to faith over worldly affairs.
उसने ये अहद किया है कि वो दीन को दुनिया पर मुकद्दम करेगा और जब एक
And
शख्स
so, when a person who serves faith or is an office holder accepts a responsibility to serve faith or is appointed for it, then such a person has an even greater responsibility than others to fulfill his or her pledge.
किया जाता है तो उस पर दूसरों से ज़्यादा बढ़कर ये जिम्मेदारी है कि वो
And one should always bear in mind that this pledge has been made to God Almighty, and He has mentioned the fulfilling of one's pledges
अल्लाह ताला से
in numerous places in the Holy Quran.
और अल्लाह ताला ने अपने अहदों को पूरा करने का कई जगह कुरान करीम में जिक्र फरमाया बस हमेशा याद रखें
Thus, it should always be remembered that God Almighty has very clearly stated that those who accept the responsibilities which they have been entrusted with,
कि तुम्हारे
they
सुपुर्द
become
की
a
गई
pledge for
इमानतें
them, and one should fulfill his or her responsibilities and promises.
तुम्हारे अहद हैं बस अपनी इमानतों
In one place of the Holy Quran, God Almighty has mentioned the following trait of those who are truthful and tread on the path of righteousness.
अपने कौल के सच्चे और तकवा पर चलने वालों की ये निशानी बताई है केवल
meaning,
बेअहदिहिम इज़ा
and those who fulfill their promise when they have made one.
यानी अपने अहद को जब कोई अहद कर लें पूरा करने वाले बस ये एक बुनियादी इम्तियाज
Thus,
होना
this
चाहिए
should be a basic quality, especially of those who undertake a responsibility of the Jamaat,
जो
that they should fulfill it by always upholding the truth and also raising their standards of taqwa, i.e. righteousness,
सच्चाई पर कायम रहते हुए और अपने तकवा के मायार को बढ़ाते हुए अपने काम सर अंजाम दें।
if they show even a slight weakness
अगर
in
उनकी
the
सच्चाई के
standards of their
मायार
truth
में
and their standards of taqwa and righteousness are not a model for the general members of the
अगर
Jamaat,
उनके तकवा के मायार
then such a person
एक आम
is not paying
फर्द जमात
focus
के लिए
towards
नमूना
fulfilling
नहीं,
one's pledge
तो वो
and also towards
अपने
their
अहद,
responsibility and the
अपने
trust
ओहदे,
placed in them.
अपनी इमानत के हक को अदा करने की तरफ
Therefore,
तवज्जो नहीं दे रहे।
the national presidents and local presidents should be the first to present their own models before their amla, i.e. their administrative team,
सबसे पहले
and also to the rest of the members of the Jamaat.
अपने आमला के सामने भी और अफराद जमात
The
के सामने
secretary of Tarbiyat, i.e. for training and reformation, have the responsibility of Tarbiyat,
सेक्रेटरी
and the work of Tarbiyat can only be done when those working in this department and who counsel others present their own
सही रंग में
examples
हो सकता है
and they act accordingly to it.
जो काम करने वाला है जिसकी जिम्मेदारी है दूसरों को नसीहत करने वाला है तो खुद भी उन कामों पर अमल करने वाला है।
Thus, the Tarbiyat secretaries should present their own good examples before the members of the Jamaat, because the responsibility of Tarbiyat falls upon them.
अफराद जमात के सामने कि जमात की तरबियत की जिम्मेदारी इन पर आयद होती है।
I have mentioned this on several
कई मौक़ों
occasions,
पर
that if the Tarbiyat department becomes active, then the work of the other departments automatically begins to happen.
तो बहुत सी दूसरे शोबों के काम खुद ब खुद हो जाते हैं। जितना अफराद जमात
The higher the level of Tarbiyat of the
तरबियत का
members
मयार
of the
ऊंचा
Jamaat,
होगा
the easier the task becomes for the other departments. For instance, the work of Secretary Mal, i.e. Finance, Secretary Amur-e-Amma, i.e. General
सेक्रेटरी माल
Affairs,
का काम आसान
and
होगा
Secretary Tabligh, i.e. for
सेक्रेटरी
propagation,
अमूरमा का काम आसान
and other
होगा
departments like Qaza,
सेक्रेटरी
which is the
तबलीग का काम
jurisprudential
आसान होगा
affairs.
इसी तरह दूसरे शोबों का कज़ा का काम आसान होगा।
I always say in the Amla meetings held in various places
अक्सर आमला
that the
की
work
मीटिंग
of
में कहा करता
Tarbiyat
हूँ
should
मुख्तलिफ
begin
जगहों
from one's home.
पर कि तरबियत का काम पहले
And
अपने
this is
घर
not
से
just
शुरू
the
करो।
home of the Secretary Tarbiyat. In fact, it should be every member
सिर्फ
of the
सेक्रेटरी
Amla's
तरबियत का
home.
घर नहीं
And the Majlis-e-Amla need to do their own
आमला
Tarbiyat
के
more
हर
than
मेंबर का
anyone
घर।
else.
और मजलिस आमला सबसे बढ़कर है मजलिस आमला कि वो अपनी तरबियत करे।
Whenever a new program is
Amir
devised for the
Jamaat,
Jamaat, the
Sadr
national
Jamaat
president, the local president, and the
और
secretary
सेक्रेटरी तरबियत
Tarbiyat
को
should
सबसे
first
पहले
assess whether their own Amla members
जो भी
are adhering to it and
Program
following
बनाते
that
हैं।
program.
अपने आमला को देखना चाहिए कि जो वो इन प्रोग्रामों पर अमल कर रही है कि नहीं। जो बुनियादी अहकाम है खुदा ताला के
And they should also assess
और जो
whether the
मकसद है
Amla
इंसान
members
की
are adhering
पैदाइश
to the
का,
basic commandments of God Almighty and fulfilling the purpose
उसे आमला
of
के
man's
मेंबरान
creation. If that is not the
पूरा कर रहे
case,
हैं
then there is no taqwa. Among the
अगर
rights
नहीं,
owed to God Almighty,
तो फिर
the
तकवा
biggest of them is to worship Him.
अल्लाह ताला के हुकूक में
For this,
सबसे बड़ा
men
हक
are instructed to offer
इबादत
salat,
का है।
and salat is to be
और इसके
offered
लिए
in congregation.
मर्दों को ये हुक्म है कि नमाज से क़याम करो और नमाजों का क़याम बाजमात नमाज की
Therefore, national presidents, local presidents, and office holders should safeguard their prayers by striving to offer it in congregation.
अपनी नमाजों की हिफाजत करके इसके क़याम और बाजमात
And so, in this way, not only will the mosques and prayer centers be
जहाँ
filled,
इससे
but at the same time they will also be able to attain the blessings
नमाज
of God
सेंटर आबाद
Almighty.
हों
And through their practical example,
वहाँ
they will be able to do the
वो अल्लाह ताला
tarbiyat
के
of their
फजलों को भी
Jamaat.
हासिल करने वाले होंगे और अपने अमली नमूने से
they will become the recipients of God Almighty's grace, and it will also create ease in their works, and they will not be just simply limited to talk. Thus, those who serve the Jamaat should first carry out their own assessment to see whether or not there is inconsistency in what they say and how they act. In this regard, God Almighty states, that, O ye who believe, why do you say what you do not? The promised Messiah ﷺ in regards to this states, it is evident from this verse that those who do not act according to what they say themselves have, do and will continue to exist in the world. The promised Messiah further states, pay heed to my words and remember them well, that until one does not speak from the heart and does not make a practical effort with it, then such words bear no effect. He further states, remember that mere words and lip service cannot be of any benefit until one does not make a practical effort towards it, and such words have no value in the sight of God. If there are any words which are not followed by action, they have no importance. Thus, the promised Messiah ﷺ has very clearly elaborated on this commandment of God Almighty, that there should be no inconsistency between our actions and our speech. Therefore, the office holders should keep this point in mind above all while assessing themselves. In those areas where the houses are at a long distance, or there are only a few houses in that area, and there is no mosque or prayer center, however, arrangement for prayer can be made in people's homes, and this is not something that is difficult. There are many Ahmadis who do not even have any official Jamaat role, and nor are they members of any Amla. However, they have offered their homes for the local Ahmadis to gather together and offer congregational prayer. Thus, if one has the awareness of it, then everything is possible. Every office holder of ours should have this awareness of offering prayer in congregation. Otherwise, they will not be able to fulfill the dues of their responsibilities, which the Holy Quran has repeatedly drawn attention towards. Thus, every office holder should be mindful of the fact that the trait of a true believer which God Almighty has stated is that they take care of their promises and the pledges that they have made. And whether or not they are showing any slackness or weakness in discharging the responsibilities entrusted upon them. And also the pledge that they have made to serve the Jamaat, as this is not an ordinary matter, because God Almighty in the Holy Quran states that for the covenant shall be questioned about. Worship is the most basic thing, and that is the purpose of our creation. Therefore, we have to fulfill its dues, and the office holders should especially not show any slackness in this regard at all. In fact, it should not be shown by any true believer. However, apart from this, there are a few other things which the office holders should take care of, and these relate to the rights of others, the conduct of the office holders with other Jamaat members, and they also relate to the pledges made by the office holders.
और इसी तरह ये बातें ओहदेदारों के अहदों से भी ताल्लुक़ रखती हैं। कोई ओहदेदार
No one is appointed to serve the Jamaat owing to their desire to hold an
या
office.
बनाए जाने के तसव्वुर से
In fact, the
किसी
concept
खिदमत
of
पर
an office
मामूर नहीं
holder
किया
in
जाता।
Islam is completely different.
बल्कि इस्लाम में तो
The Holy Prophet
ओहदेदार का
sallallahu
तसव्वुर ही
alaihi
बिल्कुल
wasallam has explained this in the following way,
और
that the
आन
leader
हज़रत
of the people
सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम
is
ने
their servant.
इसको इस तरह बयान फरमाया है कि कौम का सरदार कौम का खादिम होता है। बस एक ओहदेदार का
Therefore, for an office holder
लोगों के मामले
to
में
fulfill the dues of his responsibility
अपनी
in relation
इमानत
to
का हक
other
अदा
people
करना
is done by becoming their servant.
उसका कौम का खादिम बनकर रहना है।
And this can only happen
और ये
when
हालत
one has the spirit
उस
of
वक्त पैदा हो
sacrifice
सकती है
and has
जब
humility,
इंसान में
and his or her level of patience is far greater than everyone
उसमें
else.
आइज़ी और इनकिसारी हो।
At
उसका
times,
सब्र का
office
मयार
holders have to
दूसरों
listen
से
to
ऊंचा
harsh
हो।
words said to them.
बाज़ दफ़ा बाज़ बातें भी सुननी पड़ती
In
हैं
such an instance, they
ओहदेदारों
should
को।
listen to it. However, only the office holders themselves
सुननी
can
पड़े,
assess how high
तो
their
सुन लेनी
level of
चाहिए।
patience is.
ये जायज़ा तो ओहदेदार अपना खुद ही ले सकते हैं कि उनका ये बर्दाश्त का पैमाना
And also how much humility they have.
किस हद तक है और आजिज़ी की हालत उनकी किस हद तक है।
At times, certain cases of office holders are brought to attention
ऐसे
in which they
ओहदेदारान
have
के
shown
मामला
no
भी सामने आ
patience.
जाते हैं जिनमें बर्दाश्त बिल्कुल भी
And
नहीं
if the other person involved is being discourteous,
और
they also
अगर कोई
retaliate.
दूसरा बदतमीजी कर रहा है तो ये भी
If a normal person becomes
प्रकाश
rude
शुरू कर
and
देते हैं।
offensive, it would make no difference
अगर
to
कोई आम
him,
शख्स
as his morals will speak for themselves,
बदतमीज है
that such a person is
इससे-
very ill-mannered.
उसे तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता उसके अखलाक तो ये कहेंगे बड़ा बदअखलाक है इसके
However,
अखलाक
if an
गिरे
office holder utters anything wrong from his
लेकिन जब
mouth,
ओहदेदार के मुंह से
then it will not only affect his
गलत
own
अल्फाज
status and
लोगों
dignity,
के सामने निकलते
but
हैं
it will also have an impact
तो
on the
ओहदेदार
members
की
of
अपनी
the
इज्जत
Jamaat.
और वकार पर हर्फ आता है और साथ ही जमात के अफराद
The
पर भी
standard
असर
which the
पड़ता है।
Jamaat should be at, and the standard which the promised
जमात का जो
Messiah
मयार
alayhi
होना
salatu
चाहिए
wasalam wanted to see
और
it
जिस
from
मयार
us.
पर
If there is
हज़रत
any
मसीह
such
मौऊद
example
अलैहिस्सलाम हमें देखना
like
चाहते हैं
this,
उसमें
then it can and does bring the
एक भी
Jamaat's
अगर
honor
ऐसी
into
मिसाल
disrepute.
हो जाए कहीं भी
And there are such cases
जमात
where
की
arguments start in
गुलामी
the
का
mosque,
मूजिब
and it
बनती
has
है
an extremely
और बन
adverse
सकती है।
effect on the children
और ये मिसालें
and also upon
बाज़
the
जगहों
youth.
पे मिलती हैं मस्जिदों में भी झगड़े शुरू हो जाते हैं और बच्चों और नौजवानों
What
पर
does God Almighty expect
इंतहाई
from
बुरा
us,
असर डालती हैं ये बातें।
and how God Almighty has described those who
अल्लाह
establish
ताला
high standards
हमसे
of
क्या चाहता
sacrifice?
है
At one
और
place,
कुर्बानी के
Allah the
आला
Almighty
मयार कायम
states,
करने वालों के अल्लाह ताला ने किस तरह जिक्र फरमाया है एक जगह फरमाया कि वही
that is, believers are such that they give preference to their brothers in faith over themselves. The Ansar, by the Muslim inhabitants of Medina at the time of the Holy Prophet, established this example for the Muhajirin, by the Muslim immigrants who migrated to Medina at the time of the
और
Holy
यही
Prophet.
एक नमूना है हमारे लिए
And this is the example for us.
ये नफ्सों पर तरजीह देना
Giving precedence over oneself is no small matter.
और बहुत बड़ी बात है
Sometimes the due rights of others are not even fulfilled.
तो जो किसी का हक है वो भी पूरी तरह अदा नहीं किया
Certain affairs of others are brought to the attention of office holders.
लोगों के बाद
All
मामला
these matters are sent to them so they can send a report to the headquarters.
या मरकज में रिपोर्ट भिजवाने के लिए या मरकज से रिपोर्ट भिजवाने के लिए बाद मामला भेजे जाते
And
हैं
when the reports are sent, it is found that these reports have been submitted very carelessly,
मामले
and the report is sent without
की रिपोर्ट
properly
दी जाती है।
investigating
सही
the
रंग में
matter.
तहकीक नहीं की जाती
And the report is sent without
और
properly
रिपोर्ट भिजवाई जाती
investigating the matter.
या मामले को इतना लटका दिया जाता है कि अगर
Or
किसी
the matter
ज़रूरतमंद
is
की
delayed
ज़रूरत
so much
पूरी करने
that
के
if there is a
लिए
request to
कोई
fulfill the
दरख्वास्त
need
है,
of someone, then due to the delay that person suffers a loss, or he has to endure hardship.
ज़रूरतमंद को नुकसान हो जाता है
Some office holders present their busy schedule as an excuse.
बाज़ ओहदेदारान
Some office holders have no excuse whatsoever,
मसरूफियत का भी उधर पेश
and it
करते
is only due to negligence.
बाज़ के पास कोई उधर नहीं होता सिर्फ अदम तवज्जो की
If
होती है।
these were their own affairs or matters of those close to
अगर उनके
them,
अपने मामले हों
then priorities will be different.
या किसी करीबी के मामले हों
Therefore, true passion to serve
तरजीहात
others
मुख्तलिफ होती हैं।
and the passion to offer
बस
sacrifice
हकीकी खिदमत का
and to
जज्बा,
fulfill one's trust sincerely
कुर्बानी का
would be
जज्बा,
that one should be of benefit to others
अपनी
with similar
ईमान का
concern.
सही हक अदा करना तो ये है कि एक फिक्र के साथ दूसरे के काम
When
आए।
this spirit of sacrifice
और
is
जब ये
established
कुर्बानी का मादा
and one serves while
और
considering
दूसरे
the
की
hardship
तकलीफ को
of others as his own,
अपनी तकलीफ समझ कर
then
काम
the
किया
level
जाएगा,
of offering sacrifice in the Jamaat
तो
will
जमात के
increase.
अफराद का भी
The
मयार
attention will
कुर्बानी
be
बढ़ेगा।
towards fulfilling each other's rights instead of
एक दूसरे के हक
usurping
मारने
each
के
other's
बजाय
rights.
हक
We
देने
say
की
to
तरफ
others
तवज्जो
that
होगी।
world peace will be established when
हम बड़ों के
passion to
सामने
offer
ये कहते
sacrifice
हैं
is prepared instead of
कि
claiming one's
दुनिया में
rights
अमन तब
and
कायम हो
usurping
सकता है
rights of
जब
others
हर
on
सतह
every
पर
level.
हक लेने और हक गस्ब करने के बजाय
However,
हक देने और
if we are
कुर्बानी के
not
जज्बा
on
पैदा
this
हो।
level, then we will
लेकिन
be
हमारे
doing
अंदर
something
अगर
which
ये
Allah the
मयार
Almighty
नहीं
dislikes.
तो हम एक ऐसा काम कर रहे होंगे जो अल्लाह ताला को नापसंद है।
An attribute which the office holders should have in particular is humility. Allah the Almighty has mentioned a quality of the servants of the gracious God.
अल्लाह ताला ने इबादुर रहमान की ये निशानी बताई है कि यमशूना अलल अर्ज़,
That is, they walk on earth with humility. Therefore, an excellent example of this attribute should be present in our office holders.
बस इसकी भी आला मिसाल हमारे
The greater the office of a
ओहदेदारों में होनी
person,
चाहिए।
the greater the humility should be exhibited while meeting others with passion of serving others.
उतनी ही ज़्यादा उसे खिदमत के जज्बे से लोगों से मिलने
And
के
this, in fact,
लिहाज से
is true greatness. People observe and feel the attitude of office holders.
और यही बड़ा
Sometimes people write to me
लोग देखते भी हैं
that a certain
और
office
महसूस भी
holder
करते हैं
had such and such attitude.
कि ओहदेदारों के रवैये
However,
क्या
I
हैं।
am very happy today because that
बहुत
office
दफा लोग
holder
मुझे लिख
not
भी
only
देते
said salam to me,
कि फलां ओहदेदार
rather
का
he also asked
रवैया
me
ऐसा
how
था।
I was doing, and he presented
लेकिन
himself
आज
in a good manner.
मुझे बड़ी खुशी हुई कि उस ओहदेदार ने मुझे ना सिर्फ सलाम किया बल्कि मेरा हाल भी पूछा और बड़ा खुश अखलाकी से पेश आया।
And that he was happy to observe this, and this showed his
उसके
greatness.
रवैये को देखकर खुशी हुई।
Therefore, majority of the Jamaat members is such that due to the loving, gentle,
बस
and affectionate treatment of the office holders
अफराद
towards
जमात
them,
की तो ऐसी है
they are happy and ready to offer every kind of
प्यार
sacrifice.
नरमी और शफ़क़त के सलूक से ही खुश होकर हर कुर्बानी के लिए तैयार हो जाते हैं।
If there is any type of superiority or arrogance developed in the heart of an office holder due to his office, then such a
किसी भी किस्म
person
की
should
बड़ाई पैदा
remember
होती है
that such things
या तकब्बुर
take
पैदा
one
होता है,
away from Allah the Almighty.
तो उसे याद रखना चाहिए
And when a
ये
person
चीज़
becomes distant from Allah the
अल्लाह
Almighty,
ताला से दूर कर।
then there is no blessing in his work.
और जब खुदा ताला से इंसान दूर हो जाता है तो फिर
And religious work is purely for the sake of Allah the Almighty's pleasure. And so,
दीन का
when there
काम
is
तो है
no
ही
pleasure
खालिस्तान
of Allah the
खुदा
Almighty,
ताला की
then
रज़ा
such
के
a
लिए।
person becomes a cause of
और जब
loss
खुदा
for the
ताला की रज़ा ही
Jamaat
नहीं
instead
रही
of providing benefit.
तो फिर ऐसा शख्स जमात के लिए बजाय फ़ायदे के नुकसान पे मुझे बन जाता है।
Therefore, office holders should always assess themselves
बस
if they
हमेशा
are humble
ओहदेदारों
or
को
not.
ख़ास तौर पर
If they are
इस
humble,
लिहाज
then
से
to what
अपने
extent?
जायज़े लेने चाहिए कि उनमें आजिज़ी है या नहीं।
The Holy
और
Prophet
है तो किस हद
sallallahu
तक है।
alaihi wasallam said that the more
Hazrat
humility and
sallallahu alaihi
meekness a
wasallam
person adopts, the
जितना
higher
ज़्यादा
the
कोई
status
आजिज़ी
he is
और
granted by
खाकसारी
Allah
इख्तियार
the
करता
Almighty.
है अल्लाह ताला उतना ही उसे
Hence,
बुलंद मर्तबा
every
अता
office
करता
holder
है।
should keep in mind that if Allah the
हर
Almighty
ओहदेदार
has
को याद
granted
रखना
him or
चाहिए
her the opportunity to
कि
serve the
उसको
Jamaat,
अगर
then this is
अल्लाह
a
ताला
favor
ने
of Allah the Almighty.
जमात की खिदमत का मौका दिया है तो ये अल्लाह ताला का एहसान है।
And one can be
और इस
truly
एहसान का शुक्र
thankful to Allah the
की
Almighty
एहसान की
by
शुक्रगुजारी
developing further humility and meekness.
उसमें मज़ीद आजिज़ी और
If this humility and meekness is not developed within a person, then it is not
अगर ये
being
आजिज़ी
grateful
सारी मज़ीद
for the
पैदा नहीं
favor
होती,
of Allah the
तो
Almighty.
अल्लाह ताला के एहसान का शुक्र अदा नहीं होता। बसा औक़ात देखने में
Generally,
आता
it has
है
been noticed that when certain people meet under normal circumstances, they express great humility.
तो बड़ी आजिज़ी
They
का
meet
इज़हार
people
करते
in a very good manner.
हैं।
However, when they have a disagreement with their subordinate or an ordinary person, it immediately provokes their authoritative nature, and the vanity of being a superior office holder leads to the expression of haughty behavior towards their subordinate.
अपने मातहत के सामने साथ मुतकब्बराना रवैये का इजहार करवा देता है.
Hence, it is not humility when a person acts humble with someone who is always agreeing and there is no disagreement. Such humility is in fact artificial. The actual reality is manifested when there is a disagreement or when a subordinate says something contrary to the office holder. In such an instance, if the office holder makes a decision while observing justice and takes that opinion into consideration, then such humility also reflects one's great level of courage. When this will happen, this humility will be known as true and real humility. An office holder should always remember the following commandment of Allah the Almighty.
हमेशा उहदेदार को अल्लाह ताला का ये हुक्म सामने रखना चाहिए कि वला तसाइर खद्दाका लिन्नास वला तमशे फिल अर्ज़ मराहा.
That is, and turn not thy cheek away from men in pride,
और अपने
nor walk in the earth
लोगों के
haughtily.
सामने गुस्सा से मत फुलाओ, अपना मुंह ना फुलाओ गुस्से से, और ज़मीन में तकब्बुर से मत चलो.
I mentioned about disagreements. So in this regard, I would like to say that despite the fact that the rules and regulations allow the national president of the Jamaat to reject the opinion of the Amla and make a decision according to his own opinions, but this right should not always be exercised. However, there should always be an effort to keep everyone on board, and decisions should be made, and work is done by mutual discussion and majority opinion. In some places, the national presidents use this right unnecessarily. This right should be practiced in extreme situations, when it is known that it will benefit the Jamaat, and that should also be clarified to the Amla. This should be practiced while keeping in mind the broader benefits of the Jamaat. For this reason, one should seek Allah the Almighty's help through prayers. One should not only rely on his own intellect. It should also be clear that this right is neither to be practiced by the local presidents of the Jamaat, and nor do they have this right when national presidents are present. They do not have the right to reject the opinion of the Amla and take a decision based upon their own opinion. It is integral for the office holders to read and understand the rules and regulations in order to understand the jurisdiction. If they will act according to the rules and regulations, then some minor issues which become a cause of restlessness in the Amla and amongst members of the Jamaat will not happen.
जो आमला के अंदर या अफराद जमात के लिए बेचैनी का बायस बन जाते हैं वो नहीं बनेंगे.
There should also be an attribute of office holders that they should treat their subordinates kindly. Most of the work in the Jamaat is done through voluntary work. Members of the Jamaat give time to do Jamaat work.
तो रज़ाकाराना होते हैं. अफराद जमात वक्त देते हैं. जमाती काम
They give their time in order to obtain the pleasure of God the Almighty,
कि वो खुदा ताला की रज़ा चाहते हैं.
and also because they have a relation with the Jamaat and they have great love for the Jamaat.
इसलिए वक्त देते हैं.
Hence, the office holders should be aware of the emotions of their workers, and they should treat their workers in a good manner.
अपने काम करने वालों
And
के
this,
जज्बात का
in fact, is the commandment of Allah the Almighty.
और उनसे हुस्न सलूक से पेश आना चाहिए. और यही अल्लाह ताला का भी हुक्म है. फिर इस हुस्न सलूक के
With
साथ
this good treatment, one should strive to teach their associates and subordinates so that the workers are always available to continue the Jamaat work in a good manner.
ताकि जमाती काम बेहतर तौर पर चलाने के लिए
Jamaat work is carried out by Allah the
कारकुन
Almighty
मुहैया
Himself.
होते रहें।
There is no doubt in this whatsoever.
जमात के कामों को तो अल्लाह ताला चलाता है, इसमें तो कोई शक नहीं। जमात के कामों को तो अल्लाह ताला चलाता है।
However, if the office in charge and the office holders who have experience produce another line of workers,
जिनको काम का तजुर्बा है, काम करने वालों की
then they will
दूसरी
also
लाइन तैयार
get the
करते हैं,
reward for this work.
तो उनको इस काम का भी सवाब मिल जाएगा।
By the grace of Allah the Almighty, neither I nor previous Khulafa have worried about how the Jamaat work will continue. This is Allah the Almighty's promise to the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, that He will continuously provide sincere people who will carry out this work,
वो
inshallah.
इंशाअल्लाह ताला काम करने वाले मुखलिसीन मुहैया करता रहेगा।
During the time of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III, an office holder thought that the financial system of the Jamaat was running excellently due to his wisdom and hard
और
work.
मेरी मेहनत की वजह से
When Hazrat Khalifatul
माली
Masih
निज़ाम बहुत
III
उम्दा
found
तौर पर
out,
चल रहा है।
he replaced this person with someone who did not know even the basics of finance.
तो आपने एक ऐसे शख्स को उस काम पर मुकर्रर कर दिया, इसको हटाकर, जिसको माल से कि
However,
अलग
since
भी नहीं
this
पता
is Allah the Almighty's work, and it is Allah the Almighty's treatment with the Khalifa of the time, that for this reason the work of the newly appointed officer, who did not know anything, that it was so blessed that it was unimaginable before his appointment.
कुछ भी नहीं पता था, उसके काम में इतनी बरकत पड़ी कि इससे
Hence,
पहले
Allah
कभी
the
सोच भी
Almighty
नहीं थी।
grants the office holders and the workers and the life
उहदेदारों
devotees
को तो अल्लाह ताला
an
मौका देता है,
opportunity to become the
जमाती
recipients
कारकुनों को
of
तो
Allah
अल्लाह
the
ताला
Almighty's bounties
मौका देता है,
by serving the Jamaat and by serving faith.
वाक़ईन ज़िंदगी को तो खुदा ताला मौका देता है कि वो जमात की और दीन
Otherwise,
की
Allah the Almighty is doing all this work Himself.
अल्लाह ताला के फजलों के
It is
वारिस
His
बने।
promise. Therefore, for this reason, no one should think that the work is being done due to someone's experience and due to their knowledge,
ये ख्याल नहीं होना चाहिए कि
or
मेरा
that their
तजुर्बा
experience and knowledge can run the Jamaat work.
जमात के कामों को चला रहा है, या मेरा तजुर्बा और इल्म
The
जमात
work
के
of the
कामों को चला
Jamaat is
सकता
being
है।
carried out by the grace of Allah the Almighty. Many of our weaknesses and shortcomings are
खुदा
such
ताला का फजल चला
that
रहा है।
if it was a worldly affair, then
हमारी
it
बहुत
cannot
सारी
be blessed
कमजोरियां
in such
कमियां
a
ऐसी
manner,
हैं,
and the results cannot be fruitful.
दुनियावी काम हो,
However, Allah the Almighty
तो उनमें
covers
बरकत पड़
our
ही नहीं
faults
सकती।
and provides
नतीजे
assistance
वो अच्छे निकल नहीं
Himself
सकते।
through His angels.
लेकिन अल्लाह ताला पर्दापोशी फरमाता है और खुद फरिश्तों के जरिए से मदद फरमाता है।
For
तबलीग के काम है
instance,
मसला,
if we take the Tabligh related matters,
इसमें ही इन
Allah the
मगरबी
Almighty
ममालिक में
has
भी
provided such young workers
अल्लाह
in
ताला
Western
ने
countries
ऐसे
who are
कारकुन
born and raised here,
यहाँ
and they have
बड़े-बड़े
studied religion on
नौजवान
their
मुहैया
own.
कर दिए हैं, जिन्होंने अपने तौर पर दीनी
They
इल्म
give
हासिल
such
किया।
replies to the opponents of Islam that it makes them dumbfounded,
मुखालिफिन
and one
अहमियत
is
का मुंह
astonished
बंद
by
कर
their answers.
करते हैं और ऐसे जवाब देते हैं कि इंसान हैरान रह जाता है।
And the opponents have no option but to run away from such replies by
बहुत
these
सारे
young
ऐसे
people.
नौजवान हैं, इनके इस तरह के जवाबों से मुखालिफिन को राह फरार के अलावा कोई
Therefore,
रास्ता नजर नहीं
office
आता।
holders should consider the opportunity to serve the Jamaat as God's grace, and not as a result of their own experience, or their merit, or their ability.
समझें, ना कि अपने किसी तजुर्बे या लियाकत
Then another quality of the office holders is that to be happy and treat others with good morals.
उहदेदारान में
Allah the
जो होना
Almighty
चाहिए,
says,
वो बशाशत और खुश अखलाकी से पेश आना है।
that is, treat others with kindness and good morals, and speak to them kindly.
यानी
Therefore,
और
this
लोगों
is a
के
basic
साथ
virtue
नरमी
which
और
should be
खुश अखलाकी
present
से
in the office
पेश आओ,
holders
उनसे बात किया
significantly.
करो। बस ये भी एक बुनियादी खुल्क जो उहदेदारों में बहुत ज़्यादा होना चाहिए।
When they
अपने
converse
मातहतों
with
से,
their subordinates
अपने साथ
or their
काम करने वालों
co-workers,
से
and similarly, when they speak to other people, then they should be
जब भी
mindful
बातचीत
of the
करें,
fact that their good
और
morals
इसी
should
तरह
be at display.
दूसरे लोगों से भी जब बात करें तो इस बात का ख्याल रखें कि उनके अला अखलाक का मुजाहरा होना चाहिए। सख्ती से बात करना बाज़
At
दफ़ा
times, due to administrative reasons,
इंतज़ामी मामलात की वजह से
one has to speak firmly. But even then, this has to be practiced as a last resort.
लेकिन ये ज़रूरत इंतहाई कदम है
If someone is advised
और
with
अगर प्यार
love,
से किसी को
and the
समझाया
office
जाए
holders can make people realize
औहदेदार
that
लोगों
we are
को
sympathetic
ये
towards you,
एहसास
then
दिला दें
99% of such people
कि हम तुम्हारे हमदर्द
understand,
हैं
and they are also ready to
99%
cooperate with the Jamaat.
ऐसे लोग हैं
And that is because they
समझ
have
जाते
a relation with the Jamaat.
और ताउन करने पर आमादा होते हैं जमात से इसलिए कि जमात से उनको एक ताल्लुक़ है लेकिन बड़ी और अहम शर्त यही है
However, the main and important condition is that the realization should be developed in the people that office holders
या
are
लोगों को ये
sympathetic
एहसास हो
towards
जाए
them.
कि
Speak
औहदेदार
to
हमारे
people with
हमदर्द हैं
tenderness, and do not hold someone accountable on their mistake in such a manner
नरमी
that
से
they are
लोगों से
not
बात
able to
करें
explain themselves properly.
किसी की गलती पर शुरू में ही इस तरह पकड़ न कर लें
Those who are
दूसरे को
habitual
अपनी सफाई का
and those who
सही
try
तरह
to
मौका ही ना
create
मिले
disorder over little things,
हाँ
they should be
जो
treated
आती हैं
strictly.
बार बार करने वाले
But
हैं
full investigation should be
बात
done
बात पर फितना
before that.
और फसाद पैदा करने की कोशिश करते हैं उनके साथ सख्ती भी करनी पड़ती है लेकिन इसके लिए पूरी तरह तहकीक होनी चाहिए
And this strictness should not be as a result of
लेकिन
personal
और इसके साथ
stubbornness.
ही
Rather,
ये
it should be
सख्ती भी
carried out for reformation.
ज़ाती अनाद की शक्ल इख्तियार करने वाली नहीं होनी चाहिए बल्कि इस्लाह के लिए होनी चाहिए
At one place, the Holy Prophet ﷺ advised the guardians of Yemen whom he had appointed
मुकर्रर करदा
that provide ease for the
यमन के वालियों को
people,
नसीहत
not
फरमाई थी
difficulty, and spread
लोगों
love
के लिए
and
आसानी पैदा
happiness,
करना
and do not
मुश्किलें ना
let
पैदा
hatred
करें
flourish. This is such an advice
खुशी
that beautifies relationships between office
नफरत
holders
को ना पनपने
and the
देना
members of the Jamaat.
बस ये ऐसी नसीहत है जो अहदेदारों और अफराद जमात के दरमियान भी ताल्लुकात में
And as a result of
खूबसूरती
this,
पैदा करती है
the spirit of being mindful of each other's emotions is developed
इसके
amongst
नतीजे
the
में
members of the Jamaat.
आपस में अफराद जमात में भी एक दूसरे का उनके जज्बात का ख्याल रखने की रूह पैदा होती है
Therefore, the office holders have a great responsibility, and particularly
बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी है
the presidents,
अहदेदारों की
national and local, and the departments of Tarbiyat, and the decision-making councils, that they should come up with ways to create ease for the people.
कि लोगों के लिए
However, it should be kept in mind that such methods should be formulated while staying within the commandments of Allah the Almighty.
कि अल्लाह ताला के
It
अहकामात के
should
अंदर
not be
रहते
like the
हुए
worldly people
ये तरीक़
who forget
इख्तियार
the
करना
commandments of Allah the Almighty for the sake of
दुनियादारों की
establishing
तरह नहीं
comfort.
कि आसानियां पैदा
We have
करने
to
के लिए
fulfill the rights of the
खुदा ताला
people
के
and
हुक्म को भूल
protect
जाए
our office and trusts while
हमने
staying
शरीयत के
within the
दायरे के अंदर रहते
limitations
हुए
of Sharia and
खुदा
keeping
ताला
the
की
pleasure
रज़ा
of
को
God
मुकद्दम
Almighty
रखते
at the
हुए
forefront.
बंदों के भी हक अदा करने हैं और अपने अहदों और अपनी इमानतों की भी हिफाजत करनी है
Then, as I have stated,
फिर जैसा
that
कि मैंने
every
कहा
office holder should have a look
कि
at the
कवायद
book of
और
rules
किताब
and
को
regulations,
हर अहदेदार
and
को
they should
देखना
gain
चाहिए
knowledge of their
और
department-related
अपने
duties.
शोबे के कामों
Everyone
का
should
इल्म
be
हासिल
aware
करना
of his or
चाहिए
her limitations. Sometimes office
हर एक
holders
को
are not aware
अपनी
of
हदूद
their
का इल्म होना
boundaries or
चाहिए
their limitations.
बाज़ दफ़ा अहदेदारों को
A department is
अपनी
doing
हदूद का ही पता नहीं
something,
होता
while in the book of rules and
एक शोबा
regulations
एक काम
that
कर
work
रहा
is
होता है
listed under another
जबकि
department.
कवायद और ज़वाबित में दूसरे शोबे में वो काम लिखा होता है
Or at times, there is such a
या
minute
बाज़ दफ़ा
distinction between
ऐसा
duties
बारीक
which causes two departments to interfere with each other's jurisdiction
कामों के
because there
बारे
is
में
a lack
होता
of
है
attention.
जिस पर गौर न करते हुए दो शोबे एक दूसरे की हद में
A
दाखिल हो
few
रहे
days
होते
ago, I had a meeting with the UK's Majlis
हैं गुज़श्ता दिनों
Amla,
मेरे यहाँ
and I realized that unnecessary
Majlis Amla
debates
से
occur
meeting
because there is a lack of
वहाँ मुझे
understanding
एहसास हुआ
of this minute difference.
कि इस बारीक फ़र्क को ना समझने की वजह से
If rules and regulations are read, then time will not be wasted in this manner.
अगर कवायद को
For
पढ़ें
example, the Tabligh
तो इस
department
तरह वक्त ज़ाया ना
has to do tabligh,
मसलन
i.e.
तबलीग के
propagation
शोबे
of
ने
the
भी
message of Islam,
तबलीगी
and
मुहिम
increase contacts.
भी चलानी
And
है
tabligh will spread
और
with increased
राब्ते भी
contacts.
करने हैं
Similarly, there is a department of
राब्तों से तबलीग आगे
Umur
बढ़ेगी
al-Kharija, i.e. external affairs.
इसी तरह
This
शोबा
department
उमूर
has to
ख़ारिजा
do outreach and introduce the Jamaat.
उसने
The
भी राब्ते
circle of
करने हैं
limitation for both
और जमात का
departments is
तारुफ भी
separate.
करवाना है
One department has to do it for the purpose
दोनों
of
का दायरा
tabligh,
अलग है.
and the other department has to do it
एक
for
ने
public
तबलीगी
relations
मकसद
and
के
to
लिए
further
करना है,
develop relations.
दूसरे ने अपने पब्लिक रिलेशन के लिए काम करना है.
However, the main purpose is the introduction of the Jamaat and the guidance towards faith,
जमात का
so that the world can be called towards God the
और
Almighty,
दीन की तरफ रहनुमाई है,
and that their current life and the hereafter can be
खुदा ताला की
adorned,
तरफ लाकर इनकी
and that attention can be directed towards achieving world
कोशिश
peace.
करें और दुनिया के अमन की सूरत हाल की तरफ भी तवज्जो दिलाई जाए.
Our purpose is not to take credit from a
दुनियावी
worldly
तौर पर
perspective.
कोई
The real purpose is to make
लेना
God
तो
the
हमारा
Almighty
मकसद नहीं.
happी and to obtain His pleasure.
अक्सर मकसद तो खुदा ताला को खुश करना
If
और
departments
उसकी रज़ा
work
हासिल करना.
with cooperation with one another,
अगर
then the
शोबे
result
आपस
can be
में
much better.
ताउन से काम करें तो नतीजा कई गुना बेहतर निकल सकता है.
Then, from the practices that can be seen from many places, is that the budget for various departments is not formulated properly.
कि शोबों के बजट सही तरह मुख्तस
Each
नहीं किए
department
जाते.
should present the budget which is approved in the Shura, and each relevant secretary
बजट
should be
जो
given the right to spend it.
शूरा में पास हुआ होता है बजट वो दिया जाना चाहिए और उसके खर्च का
Indeed,
मुतल्लिका
it is the
सेक्रेटरी
role
को
of the secretary
इख्तियार होना
to
चाहिए.
devise a yearly plan for the
हाँ ये
department
ज़रूरी है
and present it
कि
before the
सेक्रेटरी
Amla.
साल के काम का मंसूबा
Then the expenditure should be done in accordance with the
और उस
approved plan,
मंजूर
and the progress should be
मंजूरशुदा
monitored in
मंसूबे
each
के
Amla
मुताबिक
meeting.
खर्च हो.
If, however, there is a need to change the
हर
pre-approved
आमला
plan,
मीटिंग में लिया जाए.
or there is room for
और अगर
improvement,
मंजूरशुदा मंसूबे में या काम
or
के
if someone
तरीक में
suggests any
किसी
improvements,
तब्दीली की
then
ज़रूरत
it
हो
can be revised again.
या बेहतरी की गुंजाइश की तरफ तो जो हो किसी की और दिलाई जाए तो उस पर गौर कर लिया जाए.
Similarly,
दोबारा
another important aspect of the jobs of the national heads
उमरा और सदरान
or presidents or local
और जमाती
secretaries
सेक्रेटरियान का
is the immediate
ये भी
and
बहुत अहम
careful
काम है
implementation of the guidelines
कि
and
मरकज़ से जो
circulars
हदायत
issued
जाती हैं
by the Markaz, i.e.
या सर्कुलर
headquarters,
जाते
in their
हैं
respective localities.
फौरी और पूरी तवज्जो से अमल दरामद करें
Complaints have been received from some Jamaat
अपनी जमातों के ज़रिए.
that the guidelines received from the center are not
जमातों के
acted
बारे
upon
में
seriously.
ये शिकायत मिलती हैं कि मरकज़ी हदायत पर पूरी
If
तरह
a certain country or certain locality has some reservations
अगर किसी हदायत के
about a
बारे में
specific directive
किसी
in light of the
खास
conditions in
मुल्क
their
या
country,
जमात को
then they should contact the
कुछ
center
तहफ़्फ़ुज़ात
at once
मुल्की हालात
and
की वजह
seek
से
permission
हों
for changes to take place
फिर
with
भी
immediate effect.
फौरी तौर पर मरकज़ से रब्ता करके इसमें
And this
तब्दीली
responsibility
करने की
lies
हालात
with the
मुताबिक
Amir
दरख्वास्त
Jamaat
करनी
or the
चाहिए.
Sadr.
और ये काम अमीर जमात और सदर का
However,
काम है.
it does not behove them to use their own
लेकिन ये
initiative,
किसी तौर पर भी
and by
मुनासिब नहीं
dismissing the instructions given, they
कि
discard
अपनी
them
अकल लड़ाते हुए
altogether,
उस हदायत को एक तरफ
and nor
रखकर
do they inform the center
दबा
about
दिया
it.
जाए.
Any
उस पर
action
अमल
of
करवाए
this nature
और ना ही
by a
मरकज़ को
national
इत्तला की
president or a Sadr, i.e.
हरकत
president, will be deemed
किसी भी
as
अमीर
violation of the
या
instructions
सदर
issued
जमात
by the center,
की जो
and
है
as a result, the center
ये
can take action.
मरकज़ गुरेज रवैया समझी जाएगी और
I would also
इस
like
बारे
to
में
speak
फिर
about the
मरकज़
Musiyan.
कार्रवाई भी कर सकता है. मुसियान के बारे
Firstly,
में
they
भी
should pay their
मैं कहना
chanda
चाहता
regularly,
हूँ
and keeping a track
पहली
of
बात
their
तो मुसियान
payments
को याद
is the
रखनी चाहिए
responsibility of each
कि अपने
individual
चंदे
Musi.
की बाकायदा अदायगी और इसका
However,
हिसाब रखना
at the same
हर
time,
मुसी
it is the duty
अपनी
of the
जिम्मेदारी
central
है.
department for
लेकिन
Musian and the
मरकज़ी
relevant
दफ्तर
secretaries to keep the record of each
और
Musi
मुतल्लिका
up to date,
सेक्रेटरियान का काम भी है
and when appropriate,
कि हर
they should
मुसी का
give them an
हिसाब मुकम्मल
update
रखें
as to the situation
और जब
of their
ज़रूरत
chanda
हो
record.
उन्हें याद दहानी भी करवाएं कि उनके चंदे
It
की
is the
क्या
job
सूरत
of
हाल
the
है.
national Jamaat to ensure that the secretaries of the local
मुल्की जमात
Jamaat
का
are
काम है
active and are in contact
कि
with every
मुकामी
Musi.
जमातों के सेक्रेटरियान को फ़ाल
Often in
करें
reports, it is suggested
और हर मुसी
that an
उनके
individual
रास्ते
has
में हो.
not paid his chanda wasiyat for a certain
बाज़ दफ़ा
period.
देखने में आता है कि किसी मामले में
When it is asked
किसी शख्स के बारे
that
में
if the
रिपोर्ट
wasiyat
मंगवाई
chanda
जाती
was
है
not given, so how is
वो
that
शख्स
individual's
मुसी होता है.
wasiyat still active?
रिपोर्ट में जिक्र कर
Upon
दिया जाता है
investigation, it
कि
is
उसने इतने
discovered
अरसे से वसीयत का
that
चंदा
it is
नहीं
not the
दिया.
fault of the individual.
जब पूछा जाए कि वसीयत का चंदा नहीं दिया तो
In
वसीयत
fact,
किस
the
तरह
chanda
कायम है
was paid, but workers in the
फिर
office
तहकीक करने
did
में
not
पता
record
चलता
it
है
properly.
कि मूसी का कसूर नहीं था, उसने चंदा तो दिया था
A report of this nature can be a cause of concern for the Musi for no reason, and at the same time, it highlights the weakness of the system. Now there is a strong system in place to record systematically and the use of computers. Therefore, mistakes like this should not occur. Every country's Secretary of Wasiyat and Mal Finance should ensure that their respective subordinate secretaries are actively working. It is also the duty of the Umara, i.e. the national presidents, to review this from time to time. Simply collecting chanda and reporting about it is not their sole responsibility. In fact, making the system reliable and ensuring a strong connection between the local Jamaat and the centre is forged is also the duty of the Umara, i.e. the national presidents. Similarly, I would also like to say something with regards to the missionaries. In some areas, there are no regular meetings between the missionaries. The missionary in charge is responsible for ensuring that these meetings are held regularly. There should also be a review in the Jamaat's Tablighi and Tarbiyati programs. If someone has done something good, then there should be an exchange of views, and other people should also try to derive benefit from those better methods. Likewise, the secretaries of the Jamaat who send guidelines to the localities or send instructions they receive from the center to the Jamaat, they should also be noted down in the report. Missionaries in each Jamaat should take note of how much work has been done on this matter. And wherever the secretaries are dormant, especially in the departments of Tabligh, Tarbiyat and Mal Finance, the missionaries should remind them. Now that God Almighty has given them the opportunity to serve for the next 3 years, may Allah the Almighty enable all the office bearers to fulfill their duties to the best of their abilities. And with every word and action, may they become role models for the Jamaat. After the Friday prayer, I will lead a funeral prayer in absentia of Sahibzadi Tahira Siddiqa Sahiba, who was the wife of Sahibzada Mirza Munir Ahmad Sahib. She passed away on the 13th July 2016 at 6 o'clock in the evening. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
6 बजे उनकी वफ़ात हुई थी इन्ना लिल्लाहि व इन्ना इलैहि राजिऊन आप
She was the daughter of Nawab Abdullah Khan Sahib and Nawab Amatul Hafiz Begum Sahib, and she was the paternal granddaughter of Nawab Muhammad Ali Khan Sahib and the maternal granddaughter of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wassalam. She was Hazrat Mirza Bashir Ahmad Sahib's daughter-in-law, and by the grace of Allah the Almighty, she was a Musia and passed away at the age of 95. Her initial schooling was done in Qadian, where she received her matriculation certificate. Hazrat Ammajan, may Allah be pleased with her, treated her like her daughter and had a very special bond of love and affection for her. She resided in Jhelum with Sahibzada Mirza Munir Ahmad Sahib, where Sahibzada Mirza Munir Ahmad Sahib owned a chipboard factory, which was burnt down a few months ago. She had the opportunity to serve as Sadr Lajna, and during the disturbances of 1974, a vast number of the Jhelum Jamaat took shelter in the chipboard factory. And during that time, the deceased set an excellent example of hospitality. She had one daughter, Ahmadul Hasib Begum Sahiba, who is the wife of Mirza Anas Ahmad Sahib, who is the son of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih As-Sad, and one son, Mirza Nasir Ahmad Sahib, who has served as the Amir of Jhelum. He was still serving until the factory was burnt down, at which point he had to leave Jhelum. She also had another son, Mirza Safir Ahmad Sahib, who is the son-in-law of Hazrat Khalifatul
Sidra
Masih
Mirza Masroor
IV.
Ahmad, जो उनकी राबे के दामाद हैं, ये भी इनके बेटे थे।
The deceased was pleasant-natured, cheerful and friendly. She was very patient, thankful, and would pray fervently. She was regular in her tahajjud prayers and had a passion for worship. She had a very strong connection with Khilafat. She would readily partake in financial schemes. She was known for being very hospitable. She was a woman who had a lot of pride and honor for the Jamaat organization and structure. She would not tolerate anything which went against the institution of Khilafat. If someone said something against the Jamaat system or against Khilafat, she would stop them immediately. As I mentioned before, Hazrat Ammajan used to consider her as her own daughter and prepared a lot of paraphernalia for her marriage, and even gave her own personal possessions, some which even bore the name of Hazrat Ammajan. May God Almighty grant the deceased a lofty station in paradise. May He shower His forgiveness and mercy on her. May He give her children the opportunity to continue in her good deeds and always stay firmly attached to Khilafat.
Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر.